Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the post-lunch session of fifth day. We are glad to welcome Mr.Niladri Chakraborty and Dr. Rishiraj Adhikary from Geo Platform Limited. Niladri is a product manager and Rishiraj is a research scientist. They will talk about sustainability at Geo. So give a huge round of applause for both the speakers.
Very good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing today? Good. So I know it's a session post-lunch. It's a Friday. We might be having other plans as well. So we'll try to keep the session interactive and engaging. At the same time, we'll try to keep it short. So thank you very much for the introduction. I didn't catch your name though, by the way, sorry. So I think you've already checked, have a glance at what the topic of discussion is for today, right? So it's AI for sustainability through connected and intelligent energy products. So how Geo is primarily revolutionizing the energy landscape through AI and connected intelligence through our IoT products. But when you hear Reliance, when you hear Geo, right? The first thing that will probably come to your mind is these guys, they do telecom. I have a phone, I have SIM, great connectivity, great network. You're revolutionizing the telecom landscape. So where does energy come into the picture, right? So it's our job, so mine and Rishiraj. So we'll take you through the revolution that we are driving primarily in the energy landscape. So what we'll do, we'll start off with a short video to take you through what we are visioning and what we have already done and accomplished in the energy landscape at Geo. So just take a look and then we'll take it forward from there.
The energy landscape is undergoing a rapid revolution.
In here?
Energy is no longer just power. It's intelligence, efficiency, and opportunity. What if energy could be smarter, cleaner, and more connected than ever before? GeoThings brings you the future today. Welcome to Geo's new energy stack, GeoNest, a revolutionary digital ecosystem that empowers residential, commercial, and industrial consumers to take control of their energy landscape at the click of a button. At the heart of GeoNest stands four powerful pillars: monitoring, metering, services, and finance, working together to create a smarter, more efficient, and sustainable energy ecosystem. GeoNest's monitoring solution uses IoT, SCADA, and AI-driven analytics to provide real-time insights built on the four fundamental principles of digital transformation: visualize, analyze, optimize, and previse. Our comprehensive device to cloud solutions ensures energy needs are optimized, driving lowest TCO and enabling faster decision-making. Whether it's tracking performance at solar sites, telecom towers, or commercial spaces, Geo ensures you always stay ahead of the curve with predictive maintenance and intelligent automation. Say goodbye to outdated billing. Geo's smart metering solutions provides transparent real-time energy tracking from generation to consumption. Whether you are a home user, a business, or a utility provider, our advanced metering services ensures seamless integration and efficiency. As the energy landscape undergoes a rapid revolution, managing distributed energy resources, ensuring stability, and optimizing consumption require next-generation solutions. Geo's service layer orchestrates energy like never before, making renewable energy more accessible, efficient, and optimized. Energy is more than just consumption. It's an economic asset. While traditional financing models are slow and fragmented, Geo's finance layer brings transparency, agility, and intelligence to energy transactions, creating a seamless ecosystem for businesses, consumers, and financial institutions, from peer-to-peer energy trading to enterprise-level settlements. Geo ensures financial efficiency and risk management for energy providers and consumers alike. The energy revolution is not in the future, it's happening now. GeoNest is the key to unlocking a smarter, greener, and more efficient energy landscape. Are you ready to be a part of it? The future of energy is here. The future is GeoNest, empowering businesses, enabling communities, and revolutionizing the future.
So, if you want to say sum it up in one word, what would you say as a takeaway that you saw from this video? Anyone? No one? Sorry? Correct. Someone else? Can you speak a little louder? Yes. Anyone else? Okay. So I think pretty accurate answers while you try to sum it up. So I'll ask you another question. So we see it's sustainable energy future, right? So why do we need sustainability? I mean, it's just another term. Maybe we were pretty good without it. Maybe not. So why do we need sustainability? If I ask you for a cause. Mm-hmm. Correct. I didn't catch your name, sorry. Ishania. So I think very accurately captured. Resources are depleting. And primary cause for that.
The energy landscape
Is climate change. It's not a thing of the future. It's happening now, right as we speak. Climate change is real. We are currently facing the consequences of the actions that we have taken. And the planet is bleeding right now. If you look at the numbers, I've put a couple of them on the screen here. The numbers are devastating. So if you look at sea level, it increased by 24 centimeters since 1880. If you look at data, a single centimeter increase causes 1 million, approximately 1 million settlements to be displaced. If you look at global warming, it's increasing each day. Last year, the recorded temperature, the highest recorded temperature was 53 degrees Celsius. And it's increasing with each year as we go by. We lost 80 gigatons of glacial ice in the last year alone. And on top of that, carbon dioxide emissions are hitting record high. If you look at the number, again in 2024, it was around 38 gigatons of CO2 emissions that we made. So this is taking a huge toll on the planet, on the resources that we need to sustain ourselves. And at the center of this crisis lies energy. How we produce it, how we consume it, and how we optimize it. So if you look at India as a landscape, the population is ever increasing. And with that is the demand. So if you look at it, by 2030, we are going to hit a peak power demand of 366 gigawatt. It's not a small number. We are around 243 right now. Now, with this, India proposes to become net zero by 2070. We at Reliance, we have set this target even more ambitious. We want to become net zero by 2035. Now, for this, we need a system that's not only green, but we need a system that is smart and intelligent at the same time. A system that will not only observe, not only collect data, but a system that can act, that can think, and can execute in real time. So in other words, we need a connected intelligent system. Now, how does Geo come into the picture? For us, sustainability is not only a vision, it's a responsibility. We want to address this at the very root of it through the connected intelligence products that we are driving. Now, Geo is uniquely positioned through Geo Things. At the center, it's juxtaposed between innovation, between scale, and between reach. So when we talk about innovation, we have curated a complete energy stack. We call that new energy stack. I think you saw it in the video as well, right? This revolutionary stack aims to drive sustainable energy outcomes in the long run. We'll discuss this in details in the coming slide. When we talk about reach, we are not restricted to a single user or single consumer. We work across segments. That is residential, industrial, commercial, and utility partners. So we collaborate with multiple discoms across India. We collaborate with our OEM partners. You can see a couple of names that we have put in this slide. These are some of our key partners. We work across the spectrum with them. So when we talk about integration, about reach, we are working with smart cities as well. If you look at Reliance Retail, as an entity, we serve over more than 20 plus formats of centers of stores that Reliance Retail has in driving their sustainable outcomes. We work with mobility partners in terms of EV revolution driving across the country. So GeoBP, we have partnered with GeoBP for their EV and their gas. So through this, we are currently serving more than 500 million happy customers and enabling them to drive their sustainability journey. So we talked about Geo Things, about new energy stack, right? GeoNest. Now, when we talk about GeoNest, it comprises of 4 fundamental pillars. This is the revolutionary new energy stack that aims to drive sustainability from the ground up. So we start off with our first pillar, monitoring. Then we have metering, then we have services, and finally finance. So when we talk about monitoring, it primarily aims to drive how we can bring visibility of the assets that we have. So when we talk about assets, you can look at the bottom, right? We are dealing with multiple assets across the spectrum. That can be your generation assets in terms of solar, can be your storage assets, can be your EVs, can be your smart plugs, or can be your assets that is connected behind the meter or the assets that is connected at your home. We have the capability through our monitoring. I think someone rightly said, right? How we are doing monitoring, how we are bringing systems and making them intelligent. So through monitoring, we primarily bring assets to life. Once we have digitized these assets, we come to our metering layer. Now, metering ensures we empower consumers with the complete data of the consumption that they have and drive efficient and transparent billing for them so that they get a complete overview of the consumption that they're having. We will discuss in detail about each of these layers. Next comes services. Now, once we have laid the foundation in terms of monitoring and metering, how are we going and driving higher order value? How are we going and driving energy optimization, energy orchestration? Initiating and enabling more renewable energy integration into the ecosystem. This is where our services layer comes in. And finally, we have done and we have established connectivity, we have established energy optimization, but can we ensure that this is viable, this is sustained in the long run? This is where our unique finance layer comes into picture to ensure that you can drive your sustainability journey in a viable and a rewarding manner. So we'll start to look at each and every one of these layers of this stack in details. So like we said, right, monitoring forms the foundation or the base. on top of which the entire stack is built. We can have assets, those can be disconnected, having no visibility, assets can be dark, but that does not drive value for me in the long run, correct? Now, how do I ensure that I bring these assets to life so that I get complete visibility of the entire spectrum of the performance of these assets? This is where monitoring comes in. We convert dark assets, we digitize these dark assets, and we bring them to life through our connected intelligence. Now, we have established 5 major principles or frameworks through which we primarily drive this activity. So, we start off with integration. Now, when we talk about IoT integration, like we discussed, we cater to most of the assets that is there in the spectrum that we use. Can be solar, can be storage, can be your BTM assets. How we basically onboard these assets, get a connectivity to our cloud systems. We work across protocols in ensuring seamless connection with our platforms. Now, once we have onboarded these, now we need to ensure that we are capable enough to monitor them 24/7. So our AI-powered systems ensure that we monitor each and every parameter of these assets 24/7. So these can range from health, from performance, giving us a complete in-depth overview of how your asset is performing in the long run. This becomes very paramount when you want to understand an asset uptime or want to understand how your asset is giving you returns in the long run. Our systems are capable enough to detect anomalies. They are capable enough to detect insights and determine if predictive maintenance is required, so that we can initiate such maintenance activities even before they start coming into picture, ensuring a higher order uptime of these assets. Our systems are capable enough to map these assets across the network hierarchy. So each and every node that you have in your network, as a user, you'll get a complete picture overview of where your asset is connected, how each and every one of your assets is performing. System is also capable with smart alerts and insights. Like we discussed, we are doing the monitoring 24/7. Users are equipped with smart alerts, with smart insights, giving them a complete understanding of their asset performance, of the predictive maintenance schedules, so that they know when an asset is going to go down, or they know that asset maintenance has been scheduled for that particular asset. And when we talk about this, we do not talk about this on paper. Right now, is this live? Across sites, across India, we are doing this across multiple assets at this point in time. Getting insights, providing predictive maintenance, providing value to those end consumers on board into this system. So in other words, monitoring provides the complete visibility of that asset to a user, giving him a higher order business value and helping him attain the objectives that he chose to attain by subscribing to this feature. Now, if you look at the spectrum that we operate while we are discussing, we cater starting right from your energy generation to your transmission and distribution to your consumption. The entire stack is being monitored by us at this point in time. Now, these can range from your generation assets in terms of your solar, in terms of your wind, in terms of your hydrogen supply. This can be in terms of your storage, that can be your grid scale batteries that we have, or can be your consumer level batteries that we have. These can range, if you look at a substation, a feeder, a distribution transformers, a DG, we go ahead and we monitor each and every parameter of these, so that I get a complete understanding of how my foundation is working. And we have products that caters to each and every one of these individually. So for solar, for storage, for EV, we cater to each and every one of these products. So this gives a brief snapshot of some of the IoT devices that we are currently distributing through our e-commerce distribution partners, just to give you a flavor of the spectrum that we are dealing with. Starting right from EV chargers to smart plugs to geotags. I'm pretty sure you must have heard about some of these at least. We are catering to these across the chain, across the spectrum, across multiple e-commerce platforms that is there. It's currently live. I mean, you can go and you can just search for it, you'll get the hit. So monitoring, it formed the foundation. It gave me a complete visibility of the entire asset stack that I have. But how do I empower my consumers? How do I ensure my consumers know what they are consuming, the energy that they are consuming? How do I empower them with transparent billing? This is where metering comes in. Now, while we have the asset onboarded, while we have digitized that asset, can I ensure me as a consumer will know complete in-depth insight of my consumption pattern? This is where the metering layer of GeoNest comes into picture. We collaborate with utility partners, with discoms primarily, and we empower them to empower their consumers or the end consumers, that is us who is consuming the energy, to get a complete insight of their consumption pattern. So we have a consumer app. We empower these users so that they can go ahead and drive billing for that. So that can be prepaid or postpaid through the smart metering system. We have integrated complete consumption analysis for a particular home. They can get a complete insight through that app. Each consumer, they can get a complete insight of how they are consuming, what are the recommendations that is there, what are the deviations that is happening. Each point in time, across a year, across a month, across a week, he can get that insight. We also integrate consumption trends. So if there's any deviation, he can go ahead and he can set specific set points. When we talk about set points, we primarily mean, let's say I want to consume X. Am I breaching that level? A user can go ahead and set that, and a user can primarily get insights and alerts when he breaches that. So a complete breakdown and an overview of his consumption pattern is being driven and delivered by us. In parallel, we are also empowering users in the utility partners primarily through the utility portal. Now, while we have empowered the consumers, the utility partners have also been empowered. So we give them in-depth analysis of the energy that they are distributing. So in terms of where and how the energy is primarily being given, how the demand is fluctuating, what is the demand analysis they can do across geography, we provide trend analysis for them. We again provide billing system integration so that it's easier for reconciliation for these utility partners. In other words, we are catering across the spectrum, across utility. If you look at it, we cater to electricity, we cater to gas, we cater to water. If you are there as a utility partner, if you are providing, if you are an energy provider, we cater to you. Now, if you look at the landscape, this primarily is a number that is there by the government in terms of smart meter installation across India. So, government has sanctioned over 222 million smart meters to be installed pan-India right now as of today. Total installation has been done for over 29 million. Jio is partnering with over 12 plus discoms. If you look at the map, this is our activity that we are doing right now. We are partnering with over 12 plus discoms to provide complete full stack solutioning for these discoms so that they are empowered and the metering stack is empowered for each and individual consumer. Now the fun begins. So we have established the foundation by bringing assets online, by ensuring that assets has been connected, has been made intelligent. Then we have empowered the consumers through our metering layer so that they get a complete understanding of their consumption pattern. But how do we ensure that energy orchestration and energy optimization and renewable energy integration is actually initiated so that we can drive tangible sustainability value to each and every one of our consumers? This is where services layer comes into picture. So what I'll do is I'll take you through 4 of these use cases primarily. Try and give you an example of how we are primarily achieving this across our residential, commercial, industrial, and our utilities. So we'll start off with energy orchestration or distributed energy resource management. So again, I'll ask you a small question. Can anybody tell me what a distributed energy resource is? Anyone?
Like some sort of pooling of energy sources between multiple entities.
Okay. Somebody else? Okay. Okay. I think yes, pretty much correct, both of you. So to understand distributed energy resource better, let us try and understand how energy distribution currently works in the traditional system. So we have a generating station. It's usually centralized. Then we transmit that through substations. From substations, we distribute it to the houses or the residentials or the commercial buildings. This is a very linear system in nature with unidirectional energy flow. But right, as you rightly mentioned, we have solar energy coming in. I can put up a solar in my house, right? Once I put that up, I am also generating energy. I become an energy generator. I can charge my storage and then I can discharge my storage at a point in time. I have energy that I'm putting back to the grid. Again, I become an energy generator. So what was once centralized has now become distributed. You have the capability to generate and consume energy, become a consumer primarily in each and every node at that particular network. So it's not centralized anymore. It is primarily distributed across the chain. Now, how do we go ahead and optimize these energy resources? That becomes very paramount, right? So I'll take a small example, right? What's your name? I didn't catch your name. Yeah? Okay. So we'll take an example of Aparna, right? Say Aparna has a house, okay? And she has solar connected. She has storage connected to that house. So we'll take a look at the graph at the top, right? The yellow one. So that's called a duck curve. So anybody know what a duck curve is? Maybe you can speak louder.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like the electricity prices during the whole day. In a simple explanation, but in a complex explanation, it occurs due to energy surplus in afternoon. Due to an energy surplus in the afternoon, the prices fall, and during the evening, as the solar power generation gets nullified, like there's no sun and there's no excess energy due to the sun, the prices rise again.
Okay. Yes. So I'll give a simpler explanation to why a duck curve is called a duck curve, because it looks like a duck. Anyway, the reason being, we'll take an example of Aparna's house to see how this pattern comes in. So in the morning, Aparna, say she wakes up, she prepares to go to the gym, make some protein shakes, starts the geyser, kitchen gets live. The demand of energy starts rising, right? And once you get prepared, you leave for your office, you leave for your schools, you leave for your college, you see a demand going down again. Then again, in the evening, you come back home, you start utilizing your appliances, you start switching on your AC, you start switching on your TV, your demand again starts spiking. And we see a pattern that resembles a duck. So that's the reason this is primarily called the infamous duck curve. Now, as I didn't catch your name, can you? Jeet. So right, Jeet mentioned, in terms of energy prices. So the utility as an energy provider, they will see, okay, in the morning, I see a high demand. During the afternoon, there's no demand. During the evening, again, I see high demand. Right now, I'm charging my users on a slab rate, stating that, okay, this is the X amount of energy that you're using. You pay me this amount of money. What if I split this entire day up into slots? We primarily call that time of day, with charging different rates for different point in time. Say for 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. I see a high demand, I will charge higher. During the afternoon hours, I'll charge lower. Again, during the evening hours when demand goes high, I'll probably go ahead and charge a higher amount. Now, this is an additional expense for the consumer, for Aparna, who has already invested in solar in storage. Now, she will primarily think, okay, I need a system that can reduce my energy cost and can ensure that I also take part in sustainability. I have solar, I have storage. Why can't I leverage that? But during the time solar generates, she is not at home. I'm losing the amount of energy that I have. Can I have a system primarily that can orchestrate all of these resources that I have and can deliver end value to the objective function that I'm selecting? Now, when I talk about objective function, her objective function can be cost, stating that, okay, I incur 3,000 rupees a month in energy bills, 100 rupees a day. Why can't I bring that to 50? Somebody else's, maybe G's objective function can be, can I get round the clock energy in my house at specific period of time? Now, I need a system that is intelligent. I need a system that is smart. I need a system that can actually orchestrate and optimize this entire thing. And that system is primarily called a DERMS, or a distributed energy resource management system. So consider this same example, stating that when you have solar generation during the day, can I leverage my storage? Can I get that storage charged so that that can be actually used at a point of no generation, maybe during the evening hours when my demand goes high? Can I leverage that storage to reduce my dependence on the grid that is primarily providing me a non-renewable source of energy that is there? Can I ensure that I can integrate my renewable energy more better in the way I use my energy? Let's consider an additional example to that. Let's say she has an EV, or an electric vehicle. She comes back, she charges it. Demand at that point in time in the evening is already spiking. I add additional dynamic load to the system. You already have a static demand. That is the demand of your house, of the appliances that you're using. On top of that, when you're plugging your EV in, that's a dynamic load that's coming in. That increases your demand even further, incurring additional expense. Why can't my system go ahead and say that, let me throttle your EV charging down at this point in time, and can I utilize the night hours when my nighttime concession tariff kicks in? Can I use that time slot to go ahead and charge my EV? You can tell me at what time in the morning, say 7 a.m. in the morning, you need your EV completely charged. My system is capable enough to determine at what rate, at what time I ideally go and charge my EV, so that you are not overburdened with the cost of energy that you are procuring. So we can go ahead and we can utilize solar to charge our storage. Then during the night time, we can throttle these demand assets. Now this can be your EV, this can be your AC, some AC that you're not using, this can be your geysers. We can leverage these assets to reduce or curtail demand that you're having at that point in time. This is primarily called demand management. Can you cut off non-critical loads to ensure your demand goes down? Leverage your storage, leverage your solar so that you are pushing energy that you're generating from your distributed energy resources and optimize the whole spectrum of the game. Note, this is not restricted to a home only. We can go ahead and we can scale this up for an industry. We can go ahead and we can scale this up for a commercial business unit, maybe a mall, maybe a hospital, anyway. And we can go and scale this up across a utility. So now take a consideration, take an example. Say you have a house like Aparna's, like Jeet's. In a locality, you'll have 100 of homes. Each home has a solar. Now that's driving tangential value to each, let's say to Aparna, to Jeet, to each individual is driving. But how can I go ahead and how can I ensure that I can aggregate these resources and can drive tangential value to my utility partners? Can I run some sort of a campaign? Can I run some sort of a program that can deliver value to the consumers and the utility as well? So when we talk about this, we primarily are talking about a demand response. So consider a scenario. Say you have your distributed energy resources at your house that's connected, right? Now utility comes in and says, if you look at this pattern, I am having heavy demand in these time zones. And I have critical business units running, critical operations running. Maybe it can be a hospital, emergency services. And I need to provide complete power, complete energy during those periods of time to these entities. Now, if demand starts rising beyond the limit, that threatens my infrastructure, that threatens my grid stability. What can I do to ensure it's not threatened? So the one solution is go and turn that power off, but that cuts off everybody's energy and everybody's power, right? Can I leverage these distributed energy resources, these demand assets through some sort of a campaign where you primarily come in and voluntarily participate? I incentivize you for participating and ensuring I enable grid resilience and grid stability. So how do we do that? Say the utility creates a program, a demand response program. It sends out notification to each and every one of the individuals of that particular house. Now they have the capability to either opt in, choose to participate, or opt out. So when you decide to participate, you primarily go and say, okay, these are the 10 assets in my house that are power guzzlers. Can be my AC, can be my geyser, and can be my EV chargers, and I choose to go ahead and take part in this program, and you can go ahead and curtail or throttle my energy that these devices are consuming at that given point in time. Or else you can choose to opt out of it. Say you want, or you are running a program and say you have an event. Obviously, you're definitely not going to go ahead and allow the utility to shut out power. Say somebody is having a birthday party and he allows the utility to turn off all the appliances that is there in the house. Not a very good scenario, right? So you primarily have the option to opt in or opt out. Participate in grid management services being catered by the utility. So as we saw, we cater to the residential consumers for the energy management. We cater to industrial consumers for the energy management. We cater to utility partners for the energy management, ensuring that complete orchestration is being sustained across your distributed energy resource. Now you will ask me a question, okay, fine. I understand sustainability. I understand how we are driving it. Where does AI come into the picture? Now such a system cannot be driven manually. I cannot ask somebody to go and see at which point in time I need to turn my solar on, which point in time I need to charge my storage, which point in time I need to discharge my storage, what is the rate of my EV charging, which point in time I need to turn my assets on, turn my assets off. These are microsecond decisions that needs to be made, and needs to be made on the foundation of proper forecasting so that I get a complete picture of what's going to happen down the line. This is where we need advanced analytics, machine learning algorithms, and artificial intelligence built into the brain of this system to drive my end value. So now we'll take a look at energy disaggregation. So I think the picture is pretty much self-explanatory, right? So say you have a consumption of 500 kilowatt hours. Can I tell you your fridge is consuming X, your AC is consuming Y, your washing machine is consuming Z, and your geyser, let's say, is consuming A? Can I break that, and whatever data I'm getting from your meter, can I break that and give you real-time insights of your asset consumption? This is something that is currently being executed and implemented in real time for our consumers so that they get a better understanding and can optimize their asset utilization accordingly. Okay, so now we'll discuss green energy open access. Anybody knows what virtual net metering is or net metering is? Anybody? What do you understand, let's say, on an English terms, what net metering means, if you say net metering? Okay. So say you have solar connected to your house. You are generating an amount of energy. Your house is also consuming some amount of energy at that point in time. Whatever is excess, you primarily give it back to the grid. So say you're consuming 1000, you're giving back to the grid 800. So you ideally get billed for the net amount of energy that you are consuming. So that's 200. So you'll be billed for that. Now imagine a scenario where you don't have the capability to put up a solar. Can you participate in the sustainability initiatives that is driven? Ideally, no, right? You don't have space to connect a solar. What do? This is where green energy, virtual net metering, green energy open access comes into the picture. Say you have a plant or a capex plant that is set up somewhere where there's ample space to set up a solar plant primarily. That plant is generating energy. That plant is giving back that energy to the grid. Now let's say you as a consumer can come in and say, okay, you know what? I am generating at point A and I want to consume at point B. I am ready to pay your banking charges. I am ready to pay your power wheeling charges. So these are primarily charges that you pay to ensure that, so when you generate energy, you need to transmit it to some place, right? From point A to point B. And for that, you need to pay charges for that infrastructure, for the maintenance of that infrastructure. So when we talk about banking, so consider it as a bank where you go and you deposit your money. So this is a bank for the energy. You primarily go ahead and you deposit your energy into that particular system that is there. So can I primarily go ahead and pay these charges and say that, okay, I want to consume at point B, you take this amount of charges that is there, and finally you bill me accordingly. Offset me against the renewable energy that is getting generated. This is what green energy open access primarily talks about, and we are currently doing it. So if you look at our Reliance office in Bangalore, we do not pay a single amount of money on energy charges. We have a plant as bidder that's generating renewables, we're pushing it to the grid, and we're primarily offsetting the entire amount of energy through the PPA agreement with the utility provider. And then finally, on-demand energy. So say you want to go from here to Ahmedabad airport. What will you do? You won't buy a car, right? You'll book an Uber. Go and book an Uber. The car will come. So you're primarily paying for the services of that time duration that you want the car for. No point in going and investing into a capex setup if you don't need it all the time. We at Reliance, we are empowering you with on-demand energy capability. So you need energy, you tell me at what point in time you need the energy, what sort of energy that you need, what is the duration of the time that you're needing that energy for, and we will primarily give you personalized recommendation of the type of energy that you need, and our vendors, we're partnering Pan-India, will actually provide you with assets for your energy need at that point in time. So we are working across solar, we're working across DG, we're working across batteries. Any type of energy that you need, you can need it for demand. Say you need it for a day, for 5 days, we can provide that capability. We are empowering our consumers through digital platforms to actually get energy on demand. So if you want to sum it up, services as a layer forms the brain of this entire new energy stack, where we are driving tangible revolution in the sustainability journey. We are ensuring that people can actually come forward and can take part in this journey of sustainability through connected intelligence together. But like I said previously, right, I can create the fabulous system that is there. But what if it only works for a day? What happens next? How do I ensure that I can make this thing more viable, more rewarding in the long run? This is how the finance layer or the last layer of this stack comes in. So we primarily have 4 specific steps in how we are empowering the users. So we start off primarily by building a scalable financial model that is curated to the need of each and individual user. Now, once the user is subscribing to this model, we empower them with green financing. So when we talk about green financing, we primarily talk about PPA agreements. We talk about blockchain-based energy trading. If you have demand, if you don't have that supply, somebody else has the supply, can he or she, can they provide you with that energy through trading? How we do for your financial markets, can we do a similar thing for your energy markets as well? Now, once we equip you with green financing, how can we ensure that we are reducing risk and we are maximizing a return? This is where a forecasting model comes into picture. We need to accurately predict what your demand is. We need to accurately predict what your generation is, so that each and every individual that is coming to participate in that market is best equipped to deliver and get the best results out of that system. And this is how we are primarily empowering entities and organizations to embark on their net zero journey. So if you look at the right, this is what we offer primarily in terms of BRSR compliance, in terms of blockchain-based P2P trading, in terms of an advanced forecasting model, and in terms of asset securitizations. Now, we have already established the stack, and this is where it primarily comes into picture. It stitches together to drive higher order sustainable value to an organization. So we all know what ESG is, right? So it stands for environmental, social, and governance. It's primarily a framework that helps assess organizations about their impact in terms of sustainability. How can we ensure and empower organizations through our connected intelligence, through our energy products, that they can reach and they can embark on their ESG journey? So environment primarily, if we talk about it, it primarily stands for the environmental impacts that an organization is doing. So that can be your GHG emissions, that can be your carbon emissions, waste management, so on and so forth. Social primarily deals with how you're dealing with your social strategies, your relationship with your stakeholders, your customers, your consumers. And in terms of governance, primarily your business models, your organizational policies. How can Geo primarily leverage connected intelligence to drive ESG? If you look at the stack, we started off with monitoring, we did metering, we went into services where we did our orchestration, and we ensured viability in terms of finance. And this all kind of boils down to give you ESG capability. So we start off with ESG actionability. So when we talk about ESG actionability, we primarily ensure that we empower our consumers, our entities, our organizations with real-time visibility across the stack that they have in terms of their connected assets, in terms of their connected systems. They have a complete visibility of their actions. Next, when we come to supply chain sustainability, we ensure that the end-to-end of their supply chain management is having a complete visibility in terms of the metering services and the consumption services that they provide. So be it the first mile, be it the last mile of their sustainability journey, in the supply chain spectrum, they should have a complete visibility of their consumption. Next, we empower them with ESG reporting. Now, AI-based scorecards and automated ESG metrics, we primarily drive them with complete ESG reporting in terms of global standards. We have already discussed how we are empowering them through green financing. So when they have green certificates, when they have renewable energy certificates, carbon credit certificates, can they primarily go ahead and trade these to offset their carbon emissions? And finally, we cater to them through a unified ESG dashboard. So when we talk about a unified ESG dashboard, we are empowering entities, stakeholders, CXOs, and business leaders with an overview of their complete digitization of their ESG platforms. Now we saw the what, the why of Geo, what we are doing in terms of getting sustainability through AI-based systems. Now I'll call Rishiraj on stage to take you through the how of it, how we are doing it.
Hi, I hope I'm audible. Okay, that was thanks to Niladri. I think by now at least you know that Geo is much more than telecom, right? The usual image is that it's Geo means what comes into our mind is that it's about the SIM card, the services that we have, and not beyond it. But of course, we are providing a lot of services, especially in the energy front, right? And when we say energy, mostly it's concentrated to things that produces electricity. It boils down to that. But okay, a lot of content in this slide. So I'll go into some technical aspects of how these things are getting powered. If we have an app, what kind of technology we use. And I will not deep dive into any one of these in particular, but show you give you an overview of how things work. So let's go into that one by one. We are back to load disaggregation. So I think there was a session on load disaggregation, right? A full session. So you probably know very well what load disaggregation is. What I want to show you is that on the left on the screen, you can see this is a snapshot of a Jio Urja app. Okay, the app is named Jio Urja. It's live in App Store and Play Store. So what does this app provides you your billing details, right? Electricity billing details. But beyond that, as you can see on the snapshot, it also tells you how much energy was consumed by your geyser, your refrigerator, washing machine, and so on. So basically what Niladri was saying, and even in the session before, it's all about telling or empowering customers to tell you how each component of your home, electrical appliances, is performing. That's the whole. And by now we already know its impact. Its impact is that it changes your behavior, right? You are motivated to reduce your bill, and that is the whole objective of a household. It also gives great benefits to the grid, because then the electricity company, which we in technical language they are discoms, distributed companies, so they can have a reduction in the peak demand. And also it also boils down to sustainability at the end of the day. But how are we doing it? So you probably learned in your again in the energy disaggregation session that we use a neural network which is sequence to point architecture. So have you learned about this before? Sequence to sequence, sequence to point. What is sequence to sequence? Pardon? Right, boils down to recurrent neural network at the end of the day. Yeah, so we use sequence to sequence, but this is not sequence to sequence, this is sequence to point. Now, just to break this down figure a little bit, we have this electric meter. And where is this electric meter placed? It's outside your home or just inside, in the mains, somewhere in the mains, and you know this meter is there. And in most cases, it is a smart meter nowadays. It's not a conventional meter. And that's the only meter you probably have at your home, right? That's 1 meter. So now from that meter, the only thing we get is your energy reading, your total energy reading of your home, right? One energy reading. From that, we can use neural network. So that's the one energy the whole house energy reading. And from that, we can break down to appliance level energy reading. That's all disaggregation is all about. But the way we implement this is because at scale, because this we're talking about, lakhs of homes, at scale, this is difficult to do using one neural network itself, right? So for every appliances that we want to do, suppose you have so each home will probably have an AC, a geyser, a refrigerator. So for common appliances, we have different models. So finally, your input is as you can see in the table, it's a power reading, your mains power reading. Your output is appliance level power reading, right? And this table that you see, I have only kept the record for the geyser. So for geyser, when we use sequence to point architecture with differential input, now differential means you take the difference between two adjacent points, and with the input sequence length of 7, you get some results. And with the point here is that with differential input, we get better results rather than using attention mechanism. So it's not always that attention doesn't always perform great, right? It could be some conventional algorithm. So this is very basic about load disaggregation, how we are doing it at Jio. The work is still ongoing on this, and just for the record, the Jio Urja app that I was showing you previously here, it is live for 2 particular discom. It's live in some parts of West Bengal and Jharkhand and some parts of Uttar Pradesh. So people actually get this entire, energy breakdown. Let's go to a different topic. This is about consumer clustering, right? Consumer clustering based on energy uses. Now when we talk about consumer, here again talking about everything is about energy. So we are talking about people who consume electricity. So it's homes, commercial buildings, and so on and so forth. And one important aspect here is that the discoms, that is the electricity companies, would want to know how what kind of energy uses is happening in a city, right? They want to know who is using energy a lot, who is using it little. So suppose we have residential homes, so energy uses is much lesser compared to an industry, right? That's quite obvious, right? But that you probably know from Niladri spoke a lot about all these things. But why do we need clustering? But even into going into that, what's the framework that we use? So I'm giving you a brief technical idea how these things are happening. So we, as an input, we take the weekly energy consumption of a consumer, right? So weekly means, again, every house, every commercial building, wherever there is a meter, they are a consumer. From the consumer, we take a weekly average reading, and the output is to know whether they are a heavy user, moderate user, or a normal user, right? And we just need a clustering algorithm to do this entire objective. In this case, we use a k-means clustering. It's a very known unsupervised learning method, and we look the performance to silhouette score. So nothing very complicated here. Again, the point is that because we are working at scale, we have often find out that conventional algorithms just work well. In most of the cases, one might say that the k-means is outdated algorithm, something like that. But in this case, it works just fine. Clustering is good, but there is an interesting use case of this, and this is about gaining the grid. Now, in a lot of places, people take a domestic connection. So when you take an electricity connection, you need to fill a form and tell whether your connection is domestic or is it commercial, right? Depending on whether you will use it for business or it for home. So many people, what they do is they take a domestic connection and then use it for commercial gains. Some examples are like they will put a machine at their home. This is a known example that they buy machines which makes wheat, right? And these are huge motors. They keep on running, and then that's a commercial use. So that is not allowed. That is illegal, right? So this, what we do using that clustering technique, we try to figure out whether someone who should be a normal user is actually a heavy user or not, right? Geo just identifies this thing, and after identification, we just give this information to Discom for them to, it's their prerogative to what action they take. So basically it helps us. So the whole idea is that we use this k-means and all these algorithms, then we identify who is misusing the grid. There are more problems in metering. One is very common, theft detection, right? There are instances, I'm sure you know, there are instances where people bypass the meter so that, they don't have to pay, right? Whenever there is a reading taking place, and some of them will just remove the meter cover, or sometimes they will even put magnet on the meter. There's a belief that if you put a magnet on the meter stops working. Some meters actually stop working, some may not stop working. And then again, the electricity companies are interested in identifying who these individuals are. So here we use, because again, it boils down to a technical problem, because the people who are doing fault are low in number, and people who are not doing fault are usually high in number, because the defaulters are lower compared to the non-defaulters. So now you have to use a clustering algorithm again, because all of this is unsupervised. You don't have any labeled data, right? So what do you do? In this case, we use a Gaussian mixture model. Why? Because it's an unlabeled data set, and Gaussian mixture models work very well in unlabeled data set, right? So giving you an overview of how we decide on what algorithm to use in the first case, depending on the use scenario. And this is all at a very large scale. So the Gaussian mixture model, because uneven data set. And again, the input is same, the weekly energy consumption, and then the output, in this case, is a binary, whether it's a meter, whether it's a potential theft or not. If it is a theft, of course, we don't detect whether someone has opened the meter or put a magnet. We can't do that. But we then, these consumers are raised as a potential theft, and then the discoms will take some action on them based on the data. Moving from little bit from energy to solar. So solar, there's this concept of forecasting, right? So can just a very basic question, when you see this word solar forecasting, what comes into your mind? What exactly are we trying to do? Right. That's more or less accurate. Yeah. So solar forecasting, it boils down to predicting how much solar energy you are going to have, right? But at Geo, that is an incomplete story. Only predicting how much solar yield you're going to have is an incomplete story. What we also need to know is how much is the demand, right? How much is the so let's talk about this example which even Niladri spoke about. So we have Reliance has this huge solar panels, and when I say huge, it's spread across more than 200 acres of land, right? There is this place called Bidar in Karnataka. So it's, we have this site full of solar panels, and this is RCP office. This is Reliance Corporate Park, which is the main Reliance head office in Ghansoli, right? So we have these huge solar panels, and these produces energy, right? Now, if there is solar, if you're producing energy, if you just produce energy, you can't use it, then it's a waste. So the problem is that you need to produce as much energy as it is required. So for that, how much energy is required, you need to know the demand, right? So it's incomplete to just to predict how much will be the solar produced. You also need to know how much would be the demand. So you need to forecast two things: the solar yield as well as how much the demand would be. And why is this important? So I'll come to the next point, which is written enabling TOU arbitrage with battery storage. What is that? Looks a little complicated line to decipher. So TOU is time of uses. So when you have a solar plant, you can't just put wires from the solar plant and put it to the light, right? That doesn't work like that. It goes to the battery. So you need to power the battery, you need to charge the battery, and then you use the battery. Now, can you tell me, just from normal knowledge, like common sense, what would be the right time to charge the battery? I can hear, but can't hear someone saying something. Like, the question is, solar is connected to battery, and the whole objective is to charge the battery. What would be the right time to charge the battery? Okay, let's make it simpler. Should we charge it at daytime or nighttime? Yeah, okay, we are going somewhere, making progress, right? Daytime. Obviously, because nighttime there's no solar. Now in the daytime, at what time should we charge? Ideally. Yeah, 12 to something. Why is that? Can you be louder? Right. Yeah. So the answer to this question is not very obvious, right? It could be anything. It depends on a lot of factors. It depends at what time the sun was out. It depends where is the solar panel situated. It could be situated in such a way that there is shadowing in the morning time, and there could be a building in front of the solar, and the morning sunlight is blocked and the afternoon sunlight is coming up. So we need to consider these options and find a suitable time to charge it. Ideally, charge it in such a manner so that you use it in an optimal manner. The point here I'm making is that you need to charge it when the solar outcome is as high as possible. So that's how you use time of use as arbitrage. Basically finding an optimal time to charge. And now what would be an optimal time to discharge? So we have kind of discussed what's the optimal time to charge. We know it cannot be night. It has to be day because the solar, and there could be other factors influencing it. But what would be a ideal time to discharge it? That means to use the solar. When we require the energy, very basic. Okay, night or day? Let's make it simpler. Night or day? Yeah, so mostly night. Why night? Because at night the demand from the grid is very high. So what happens is the demand in the grid is high. The DISCOMs, the electricity company, some electricity company, I know electricity company in Kerala and all these states, they penalize if the demand is very high at the home at night time, because at that time everybody is using ACs and everywhere light is on, right? So demand is high. So we want to discharge it at that time so that my dependence on the grid is lowest, right? So finding this optimal times, this is where TOU arbitrage is needed. And there is also, when you have a large solar plant, you also need to sign an agreement with the people who will buy your solar energy. So these are electricity companies who will buy your solar energy. You need to sign and you to make a deal with them that every day I will give you 100 megawatt of energy, something like that. So if you do not fulfill that criteria, the electricity company will penalize the solar company, right? So the point again here I'm making is that you need to this forecasting decisions are very important, because a lot of financial anomalies or financial disasters might happen if the agreements are not met. So that's why to demand both sides. Again, continuing the story of solar, we also do a smarter cleaning, which is about predictive maintenance, right? If there is a lot of dust in the solar panel, the efficiency of the solar panel goes down, right? There's at least 30% energy loss if there's too much dust, which means you're again not optimally using the solar panels correctly. So in that case, we ensure, again, we use some data science and predictive maintenance technique to determine when to clean it, and to also determine technically what is known as an unutilized area. So how much, like if the solar plant is spread over 200 acres of land, how much of it is being currently utilized? If that number is way too low, it means there may be a lot of dusting around, you need to clean it. So this is about predictive maintenance. So going far from energy, I can see people are little bored about turning too much energy. So let's do something. Let's go push ourselves towards LLM now, right? Like we're reaching LLM because it's the interesting topic. But before that, before LLM, let's talk about something else, not energy, not necessarily energy. The sub-product is named Asset E-Kundali. It's a DLT powered asset health scoring system, long title. Any idea what is DLT? It's probably written somewhere there, but can you break this acronym? Anybody DLT? No? Anybody? Let's move from DLT to blockchain. What is blockchain? Do you know what is blockchain? Sure, you've heard the term, right? Any idea where it is used? Any application, top of the head application of blockchain? Smart contracts, good, nice one. Yes, smart contracts, and I think blockchain, Bitcoin, all these things come into my head when we talk about blockchain, right? So yes, smart contracts. Now here is a product which Geo bought up. It is a asset health scoring system. Now let's not read the lines that are on this slide. I'll give you a nice example. I'll try to give you a nice example. Okay, so suppose I have a phone. All of us have a phone, and I want to sell the phone. Okay, maybe because I'll buy a new phone, so I'm selling my phone, and I quote a price of, say, I'm selling it at 20,000 rupees. Right? It's a very practical example, so I will try to. So, and suppose this is the audience. I want to sell my phone 20,000 rupees. Will you buy it? That's my question. Assuming you need a phone. Let's assume you need a phone. You are in need of a phone. I'm selling a phone, right? So that assumption, don't say I don't need it, I don't buy it. So let's assume you need it, okay? So let's go to the next level. Suppose I'm buying and you are interested in, I'm selling, you are interested in buying. So what next? Depends on what? Exactly, right? Yeah. Lot of questions you will ask. Is the age of the phone? How old is it? What's the camera? Is it working properly? You will be scrutinizing it a lot, right? After all, you're paying 20,000 rupees. So let's again, this problem, let's make it smaller. Let's talk only about, because this slide is about battery. So let's talk about the battery of the phone. Suppose my phone, which I'm selling, has a very bad battery. Okay, obviously you're not going to buy the phone, but the thing is you don't know about it, right? Why will I say that it has a bad battery? Because I want to sell it. I will say no, the battery is perfect, right? I've been using it since 1 year. The phone's battery is working perfectly fine. Please take my phone. It's working perfectly fine. Now, how will you determine whether the battery is good or bad? Any idea? By using some? I didn't get you. Okay, how long the battery is running? Yeah, that's a good metric. But suppose I tell you, okay, my phone is 2 years old, and I claim that my battery is perfect. I'm telling, hey, ekdam perfect, ekdam 100% great battery. Please take my phone, 20,000 rupees. Are you going to buy it? Come on, your technical audience. You should be like, how do I know the battery is right or wrong? Like, I asked for a demo. Oh, okay, nice, nice one. Very practical. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, give it for 2-3 days and you see how it charges or discharges. Very good. So practically what happens, coming to the main story, you have nowadays in every nook and corner, we have this small mobile shops, right? And usually even Android and even iPhone, they tend to show you the battery health. Right? It shows you, you know about this, right? 80% battery health. And usually it's a convention that anything less than 90% is not acceptable, right? It's a poor battery, right? But the thing is, the problem is, I can go to these mobile shops, the small shops that are there, like 15 minutes, a bus ride from here, there will be a lot of mobile shops, right? I can give my phone and ask them, I will pay you 200 rupees. Please make my battery health 100%. And they can actually do that. They will tweak the software. And now the battery health will be 100%. Now I will bring out my phone. See, battery health is 100%. It's fine. Take my phone. And you will buy it. Most people will buy it, right? And once sold, then I will go missing. Like, I don't care now, right? So that's a fundamental problem. The problem here is people are, manipulating the data, right? So how do we prevent it? And that's where blockchain comes in. I'm not extending this discussion further, but that's where blockchain comes in, right? So what I could have done, what we could have done, it's that we can store this information, the battery health information we can store this in a database versus we can store this in a blockchain kind of a ledger, blockchain based ledger. Now the question is, why blockchain? Why not a normal database? Technical question, like why do we need a blockchain ledger and why not store the information just in a database? Decentralized, yeah, decentralized one, but that's, yeah, immutable, great answer. So basically whatever entries go into the blockchain ledger, it's a database, kind of, right? The distributed ledger technology, it's a database versus you have a MySQL kind of database. In MySQL, it is not immutable. Here it is immutable, which means you cannot change it, right? And that is what Geo is making, right? This is kind of life. Let's go to the next slide. So what we have here, this on the right side, you see this, the top, you see this Geo Ener grid, right? This is a dashboard, which is basically showing many parameters about a battery. Now, this is of course not a mobile battery. These are battery, we're doing serious business. So we do this solar battery or the battery that are used in tower sites, like a cell phone tower site, they have batteries. Solar cells have batteries in the entire system. So these are large batteries. And so we deduce a lot of parameters. You can see this dashboard is full of numbers. On the right side, we have best C rate to use, best SOC, lot of numbers, right? So whenever a battery is bought from a shop, right, Geo has designed a system, it's a dashboard, it's a blockchain based, where you can track the entire life cycle of the battery, where when it was bought, who used it first, when it was sold to whom. And of course, this information you can, as I said, you can just keep it in a database, but then you can manipulate it, right? So no one will trust it. So it's now blockchain powered. That means this information is very much true. No one has changed this information. So now, because you're going to buy a battery, you will get certificates like this. These are certificate entries. Whenever someone has to, someone has bought a battery from a shop, the certificates will be generated. These are certificate entries. And these certificates will have all these numbers. What is the battery health? Tons of metric, right? Like what is the battery health? When was it bought? How many days old is it? Those information, everything will be there. And each time the battery moves, suppose I bought it first from a shop and then you bought it and then you sold to someone else and then again that person sold to someone else, the battery keeps moving and you have this entire record of it. And finally, we generate a certificate that looks something like this. It's a Geo certificate. It's a again, DLT powered blockchain technology. So this certificate cannot be you cannot do anything. You can't make any trick with the certificate. It's verified information. So you know the battery that you bought from someone, what's its status. And because of that, you are now empowered to pay the correct price for the battery, right? So this is a part of a Geo Energini project, not Energrid, sorry, Energini project, which we do this kind of thing. So this is a blockchain away from energy. Now let's go to LLMs. So we are also at Geo, we are also internally working a lot with LLMs. So now I'm showing you another dashboard. This is not the Energini dashboard. Now from Energini, we are moving to Sanjini, Geo Sanjini. This is another product. And I was telling you about all these solar plants, right? Huge solar plants. So because the solar plants are so huge, of course, we have dashboards for each of these plants, right? Sometimes we have two. I give you example of two solar plants. One is Bidar and one is at Reliance head office in Ghansoli in Bombay. So we have this dashboard which you see on the left, and dashboard are just like any normal dashboard. They have lot of KPIs, lot of interesting numbers, right? And now we are changing it from dashboard. We are changing it. We said, okay, let's get rid of the dashboard. Let's make it LLM powered. Now it's like kind of a chat GPT, but here you can only ask question about solar things, right? Now the question is, why are we doing it? Dashboard was fine, right? I mean, it is showing all the numbers. I log into the dashboard. I know what is the energy yield. I know when was the sunrise, when was the sunset. I know what is the demand, all that I was discussing. So dashboard has all that information. Why is Geo then using resources to power it via LLM? Or putting LLM layer on top of it? Why do you think this is required? I mean, is this actually required? If you think so, why? Any answers? Any guesses? I mean, more compatible. Correct. That's actually what he said was that it's more, the dashboards communicate more comfortably rather than a chart. So the answer, that's actually a very good answer. Never thought about that. I will add it to my next talk. So probably. So the answer that I had, and which is actually what we think the dashboards are needed, is that, so Reliance Geo, we have lot of people, right? Lot of people across different business units. And every time someone is assigned or someone new comes up to understand the solar dashboard, we need to train them to see these numbers, right? They need to know how to log in. They need to know what these numbers mean, where this information is coming from. So it takes a lot of effort to train these individuals, right? And training is, for any organization, it's not always a very comforting thing to do. It's required to be done. People do it nicely. But then we thought, if we powered it via LLM, right? Now suddenly the effort to train goes away. People can just come and ask question. So if you're wondering about the title of the slide, LLM based system 4, it's written CXOX. X can replace anything. It can be CEO, it can be a chief management officer, executive officer, finance officer, or it could be operation and maintenance, ONM. So basically anyone can come and ask question about the solar product. The questions can be related to finance. Now, who will ask finance questions? CFO will ask finance question. Who will ask engineering questions? And ONM, operation and maintenance person will ask. So we are not giving the same dashboard to everyone. Like if a finance guy comes and see what these numbers, I don't understand. I just need to know how much profit you made last quarter. That information is not there in the dashboard. Now he has to scroll, find where the information is. It's not a very good experience. Rather than that, they can just ask in the dashboard what the profit is. The CFO gets the answer. An operation and maintenance engineer will ask engineering questions, right? That's why you're powering it via LLM. Question is, how are we doing it? Now I won't go into a lot of details here. So there was a session on LLM fine tuning yesterday, right? And you learned about LoRa and all those stuff. So now, let's think about designing this, right? So we have this dashboard. And suppose you are told we have this dashboard, you need to power it, you need to make it LLM powered, or add a LLM layer to it, what is the first thing that you would do? Suppose you are the in charge, like, you know, you are the head, you are the person who is asked to do this, right? What is the first thing that you will do? And you are given this dashboard, you log in of this dashboard, the database and everything, right? The back data, everything is available to you. What will you do? What is the first thing that you will do to design this to power it with LLM? Yeah, perfect. That is what is on the next slide. First you explore, first you do your research, what kind of questions people could ask about this dashboard, right? So one obvious is, which appears on the very last, is that not applicable to product. So people might ask questions not related to solar, right? So these are not applicable to this product. So these questions need to be filtered out immediately. Then there could be questions on infographics. Infograph means question that require you to generate charts. They will ask, what is the energy over the last 1 week? Then you need to show it in a beautiful graph, right? Or there could, some questions it's written as cached. Some questions are those questions which we think people will ask, right? There will be very common questions like, what is the energy generated today? That's the most common question. If we know that people are going to ask some question, we'll cache it. We'll store it as a, some question that you might already ask. And then some question will require to fetch data from the database. So it's SQL generated, right? You have to generate an SQL query and then you have to query the database and give the response. Now, my second question, if you're into LLM and all, this is going to be a good question. Do you think all these things could have been handled by a single LLM? So you are very well aware of the LLM technology right now, right? More or less we all are, right? Now we're doing this question divisioning and whatnot. Do you think all these things, like what kind of question is it? Is the question valid? Does the question require to plot a graph, or is the question somewhere in the database? Can all these be done in a single LLM call? That is, I'll write all this information in a prompt. I'll write the prompt nicely that you are a solar expert and so on and so forth. And then I'll ask the LLM itself first, determine what the question is. And depending on the type of question you answer, can this be done in a... Yes, that is a correct answer. It can be done. Why not, right? Because LLMs are very intelligent nowadays. We have reasoning models and the things are just improving every day. Whenever OpenAI comes up with something, Google comes up with another. And then suddenly Anthropic comes up with another model. So the competition is heating up. And of course, we can do that. Why not? The thing is that that's not a practical solution, not always, right? You might think as an individual, as a student, you will think I can't do that because I do not have that much of compute, right? Even if you use, say, ChatGPT to do it, you cannot do it a lot of times because I'm sure you use ChatGPT and then it rate limits you, right? It tells you, okay, now the model will answer questions from a different model, not the updated model. You have faced it, right? So you don't have that much amount of money or don't have that much amount of compute to do it. But more than compute, from an organization point of view, when we write prompts, we are actually exposing a lot of company information to the model. We don't want to do that because all these solar metric that concerns us has been designed over years of effort. We cannot just give it in a prompt and take it away, right? The organization cannot do that. That's it's not acceptable. So we cannot expose information. So which means we need to host this model locally or something we need to do. And if you host this locally, then again, there are questions of how much GPU you need and all these things. So the best thing to do is to then use smaller LLMs, right? And the right side that you see, once we have question category, we can have same LLM, but that figure that you see yellow is LLM and the right side that you see, these are LoRa adapters, right? So what we can fine tune this model on different categories, put this LoRa adapters and let one LLM handle everything. So this one LLM with different adapter, second LLM with another adapter, and all these adapters are designed in such a way so that they handle a specific type of question and then you get the response. This is an ongoing work. A lot of work is still going on this aspect, and we are actively using LLM to create newer kind of dashboards which are LLM powered. I'll spend some time on two different slides. These are a little different practical considerations. Now we have all these new technologies, LLM and all these things, right? I want to give you a glimpse of some problems can be solved by like not using very state-of-the-art technology. Some are very basic problem, and this is one of those. Battery backup time estimation at geo tower sites. So now geo tower, as you know, this is we're talking about telecom now, from energy to LLM to battery to now back to telecom. The geos, one of the biggest business unit. So there are about 4 lakh towers, right? And the towers need to be powered 99% of the time. You cannot lose tower randomly, because that means you will lose customers. So, and all these towers are of course powered by some medium. Most of the time it is grid, but when grid goes off into power, this will be a battery. And across 4 lakh sites, I need to know which battery is underperforming. 4 lakh is a huge number. You cannot send people there and send humans and take manual note what's the battery status like. As someone in the management, they need to know which of the 4 lakh towers needs battery change, so that financial decisions are taken quickly. So here we do a real-time monitoring of assets, and we use algorithms like SVM, of course, with different parameterization technique like particle swarm optimization. So to understand different metric of the batteries, and so that we can, smartly identify out of these 4 lakh towers which batteries are off. So these are some technology that been being used at geo tower sites. And then we also have some tower sites. You must have seen they also have diesel generators. And one problem that we often face is that people open the diesel tank of the diesel generator and just take the diesel away. So people just, they do theft, right? And that is very difficult to identify, like how and why theft happened. People take away diesel and you don't know how it happened. So it later reflects on the energy bills, right? Because the energy generation won't be proportional. If there is a diesel theft, the energy generation it's proportional to the liters of diesel that is there. And if the liters of diesel is way off, then energy generated will be way off. So in these cases, the point I'm making here again is that we're not using state-of-the-art technology. Some things are very common sense, like if the energy generation has come down, that means there's no diesel. If there's no diesel, that means there's a theft going on. Similarly, runtime patterns may be inconsistent. The diesel generator might stop all of a sudden, right? And there could be sudden slope change. Slope change means that suppose the diesel was 10 liters, the next day it is suddenly dropped to 2 liters. That means we have a benchmark, how much diesel would be used in one go. So any deviation from that number signals a potential theft. I won't go into details of this. I just wanted to show you that from different extreme, we are using LLMs, we are using Gaussian mixture models, then come down to k-means, and then there's some technology where we're just finding the mean, and then there's problems such as these, which doesn't even require probably technology, but just needs some manual inspection at a large scale. And for everything that is large scale, we do a demand-driven or data-driven, we use data-driven analytics. There are different units which are doing different kind of technical work. With that, I think we are done. So that's all from Niladri's side. So Niladri covered probably you know now that Geo is more about towers and all, and you probably got a very good glimpse about what kind of technology that we are using inside Geo. With that, thank you. We are now open to questions if you have any. Thanks.
So for the chatbot part, have you looked towards the advanced RAG techniques for getting the information to the user? Because fine tuning is not cheap, and also it also has one more limitation that you don't get real time updates. You always have to fine tune. So,
Yeah,
have
right.
you looked towards advanced RAG techniques?
Yes,
Because
yes, we are definitely looking into it. So, in fact, initially we were actually using RAG only. So, as I say, this is an ongoing project. Every time we are doing a lot of experimentation, we were using RAG technique, and that is very much correct. Like real time data, if there is a sudden update, because solar generation is something that will update maybe hourly, right? Not even daily, and we need to have latest information. So, we are internally currently not as of now using RAG. We found that although fine tuning is so currently fine tuning is very much at par with RAG. You can just fine tune something in a very less time because of the advances that has come in fine tuning. So currently our system works better with fine tuning. It gives better performance whenever there is a data update. We kind of fine tune it again. It doesn't hurt, and we can do that with QLODA and QLODA, all these advancements. So it doesn't hurt us as of now. But of course, as I say, this is a work in progress, and may have to make the switch as per the performance. Right now, tuning
and how frequently you fine tune?
that depends on how much change the data has. Sometimes, so this decisions are taken on basis of do we if there is a change in the data, like how confident are we? So okay, so let me put it this way. So the chatbot is there, and there are 13. This is the internal chatbot, right? Because it's not like a public product. This is internally used. So if it's internally used, about questions or what kind of questions people are going to ask, and when are they going to ask it. We have that power, right? So if that information we have, we can accordingly fine tune, right? And this might look counterproductive, but actually in our case it's productive because because that gives us better performance. So the crux of the answer is that we know, we can predict, we can predict when how many people will be viewing the chatbot at what time, and accordingly we can fine tune.
And one more last question: that what is the scale of the data that you deal with?
I cannot directly answer that question, but you can just imagine if it is a 200-acre solar plant. 200-acre means you can just imagine 200 acres is covered with solar plant, and there are I know huge. I cannot quote numbers, but there are a huge number of inverters. So we're talking about huge number of data. Some questions which I did not deal with is that okay, so that's actually a nice question. So whenever we design this, we have this dashboard, and then we are moving to chatbot. It's not only about innovating, making use of LLM and then applying it. There are a lot of other questions from that. That was a good question. Questions like because this is actually huge. The data scale is very huge. Okay, you cannot just load it in a disk or something like that. You need to very intelligently parse the data. So because the data is huge in number, we need to also answer critical questions like which database are we going to use, right? Will there be read on the obviously there will be read on the database. Will there be write on the database? Depending on reading and writing questions, then we decide on which database to use. So just to answer the question, not like indirectly, not directly, it's a huge database, and so huge that we need to consider all these additional questions. Like it's not only about LLM, it's about how we retrieve the data, whether we use API, is the API slow, what database to use, as I said, and then also how often to write to the database if we even have to. So you can imagine the scale is huge. That's why it requires us to answer questions like that. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so it's just out of curiosity, can you just give more insights about how these sequence to point models are like used in this framework?
Okay. Again, I will tell you whatever I'm legally allowed to disclose, right? So, sequence to point model, it's a by itself, the neural network is quite old now. It's been existing for quite some time now. To give an example, if you like, you want to know the little bit of technical details, right? Yeah. So, see, so we have this meter. Probably in this room somewhere there will be a meter. So we have this meter. The wire is there, and then we collect this data. So this is the one-dimensional data. So one-dimensional data of energy, right? Now, because as I was saying, Geo is working at huge scale. It's not about 1 home, 2 home. It's about probably millions, right? So the problem here is that we don't get high frequency information data, right? Because it's because there are limitations from software engineering point of view. High frequency is not available. So when I say there's no high frequency data, what I mean is that we get data point every 15 minutes. Now 15 minutes is actually a very poor frequency, to be honest, right? But it works in our case because, again, because of the scale. So every 15 minutes, we collect one data point. Next 15 minutes, so after 30 minutes, I have 2 data points. So this keeps on collecting. Once we have 7 data points, these 7 data points are fed into the neural network, sequence to point. And then because it is sequence to point, so it takes a 1D signal 7 to 1. One data point I will get, right? So 7 to 1. And then when I get the 8th data point, the window is slided. So next 7. So the first data point is ignored. Then I get the second data point, right? So this is how the architecture looks like. And that 1 data point, 2 data point, that is trained on appliance level. So if this is mains, it would be appliance level, it would be geyser, right? So if you have 100 here, the geyser could be 20, something like that. And this is the architecture that I'm data pipeline or architecture that the neural network architecture that is open, that you can just check. That is nothing like we did not innovate that. It's there in the open sequence to point. If you type, you will get the famous paper. I think it was in Census or BILSIS, something like that conference. Sequence to point architecture. But the whole idea of this architecture is again RNNs, recurrent neural network kind of a thing only, where those are sequence to sequence. But here in this case, we're just predicting a point. Now, in our case, what we have found out additionally is that rather than putting this 117 data points, if you take the difference, like first data point, second data point, into it, take the difference. Second data point, third data point, again take the difference and feed this difference into the neural network, and then you predict it's better, right? So the whole idea of takeaway for you is that you can manipulate, the architecture remains the same. You can manipulate the input different. You can, rather than the input, you can have statistical features. You can control it, dictation, all these things, and then feed it into the neural network, and you can have a better, maybe a better prediction. I hope that answered your question to some extent. Yeah.